First, I'm going to turn that on so people can hear me. Before we start, I'd like to take a moment to thank some very special and very important folks that were outstanding last Monday's heroics. Thanks to our bus drivers. Thanks to everyone that went down and celebrated the bus drivers. Thank you, Dr. Barnes, for doing that. Thanks to Ms. Angel and her wonderful team at Carolina Beach, Ms. Leak and her team at Murray, and Mr. Perez and the Ashley staff. Also the great team at Central Office. So I'm looking around at y'all and saying thank you for a great job there, led by Dr. Barnes. Thanks for going above and beyond keeping our students safe, and also many thanks to our first responders who were instrumental throughout that situation. Also want to thank our board members. I got to tell a little story on myself. I went out, got up extra early, drove down to Carolina Beach on Tuesday, ready to go. Figured I'd be the first one there. Ms. Angel shared with me that Dr. Barnes had been there and left already, and that Mr. McManus had been there and stopped by and checked in on everybody. So thank you, board members. And I know all the board members go to schools all the time, so I do want to thank you all for doing that. So again, thank you to everybody that's listening. At this point, we will ask Ms. Bowie to call the roll, please.
Good afternoon. Pete Wildebohr.
Present.
Melissa Mason.
Here.
Josie Barnhart. Pat Bradford.
I am here.
Stephanie Craybill.
Ms. Craybill? Ding, ding, ding.
Hugh McManus. And Stephanie Walker.
Here.
All right. Thank you all for being here. And Ms. Graybill, if you can hear me, thank you for being here remotely. Next, we will have the approval of the agenda. I would like to, I'm going to go ahead and jump on that before we even start. I'd like to add CDLA. I guess there was some confusion whether they were coming next week or they were coming this week. So I would like to add them under information. Put them as A under information and move everybody else down. Is that right?
Is that for today?
That is for today.
That would be fine, and as long as if they are, I told them 3:15, so if they're a little late, we can just kind of shift them down.
Okay, that sounds good. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Is Ms. Crable on? Okay, so we'll count that as a 5-0 vote. With that in mind, I would entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved. Second.
The first and second. You have something else? I'm sorry?
Well, not, I think we skipped the pledge. Did we do the pledge and I missed? This is first. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean, we'll do whatever,
Nope.
whatever order you want.
Nope, you did skip invocation
skipped?
and pledge.
Oh my goodness gracious, yes I did. I'm looking at this one instead of this one.
Oh,
My
Lord.
fault.
You had one job.
I have one job, I know. I messed it up.
That's what we're here,
All right, well, let's go ahead and go back. Let's have our invocation and then our pledge, and then we'll come back to that.
Hello, my name is Sam Nolan, and I am on staff at Port City Community Church, and I'm going to be leading us in a beginning prayer for today. So bow your heads with me. Lord, we just thank you for today, Father. We thank you for a chance to be in this space, Lord, for this meeting today and for these people that are in attendance, Father. God, we thank you for an opportunity to just serve students and families in Hanover County. God, we give this meeting to you. We just pray for just wisdom to discern which choices need to be made, Lord, and which things to go after for the health of our schools and the health of our teachers, Father. God, we just thank you that we get to do this every day, Lord. We get to serve families in our city, Lord. God, and we just thank you for this meeting. And we pray that Jesus.
We'll ask Ms. Mason to lead the pledge today. Ms. Mason.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for keeping me straight, Ms. Walker. I'm going to ask you at this point, is Ms. Crable on? If not, would someone take her place as the timekeeper, keeping up with time?
I'm math challenged.
You're up for that challenge, you said?
No, I'm
Oh,
math challenged. so it's
I'm
hard.
math challenged about this.
I'll do it.
okay. All right.
Sorry, I didn't want to be
He's
so,
not math
like,
challenged.
vicious about it. If you'd like, I can do it.
Thank you, thank
Mikey
you. I
said
would
yes.
appreciate that. Thank you. We will give you that very important job. All right, we are going to go back to approval of the agenda, the amended agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Carries. Again, I'm just going to say it 5-0 until I hear something different. 5-0. We're going to go, as we have in the past, through each individual item. If there's any discussion or questions, now is the time to bring them forth, and then we will carry on. Okay. So we have a call to order, roll call, approval of the agenda, which is what we were doing today. Invocation, presentation of colors.
Can I ask
national
a
an-
question?
Yes,
Are
you
we
may.
doing next week's meeting or
We
this
are.
week's meeting?
Yes, next week.
Thank you. Just
Yep.
checking.
Yep. Next week's meeting, so it's the orange.
Orange sheet.
The orange sheet, yes. Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to do the pledge next week?
I'll do it.
Okay. Pat Bradford.
It as
Is that you, Mr. Craybill? Nope. Okay. And we have the approval agenda, recognitions, administrative introductions, advanced teaching roles. What do you think on time for that?
I have listed 20 minutes for that.
20 minutes for all three.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to leave it at 20. All right. Student voice, we'll have 10 minutes. Teacher voice, again, 10 minutes. Interim superintendent's report, 5 minutes, is that good?
30.
35 minutes, okay?
Just kidding, just kidding.
All right, board chairperson's report, 5 minutes. Called audience, we've allotted 60 minutes. Going through the consensus items. You had one you wanted to mention.
For A, it's not directly on here in the main, but in the paragraph, it's relationship with Cape Fear Community College, so I'm going to have to
Okay.
Recuse.
recuse myself.
MM recuse. Okay, so we'll note that for next week, that for item A, we'll have to pull that off, and we can vote on everything else besides that.
Can we go through them one at a time and just talk about each one as we go through?
That's what we're doing.
But I mean, let's don't skip any of them. Just do them
Oh,
all.
skip, no, I'm gonna
Okay.
read every one. 2024, North Carolina pre-K subcontract for private sites. Anybody, go once.
Who's in charge of that can talk to it?
I don't see Shannon here. Shannon Smiles would be the person. to deal with.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can circle back to that for sure. So I'll leave a question mark there, and we'll circle back for Shannon when she gets here.
Oh, boy.
The 2025 budget amendment, any questions?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I would like to know, I'd like to go over each one of them separately because this is some pretty big stuff here. And I had asked, some questions in advance, so we're good, and I'm looking forward to your answers.
I'll go through each one, so I'll just start with the state public school, thank you for that. State public school amendment. That total amendment is $3,424,584. The majority of that's related to that artificial intelligence pilot. Remember, we received that grant actually last year, but we haven't spent any of those funds to date. And so that is $3.2 million. And then the remaining of that balance is $200,000 for related to our school safety grants. Of that $200,000, $170,290 was actually allocated last year. but they held back 15%. And so 29,710 is funding related to grants we were awarded last year, but we didn't actually get the money until this year. And so I'm recording that revenue. And then we also, related to that 200,000, we received $170,290 actually received on that grant, but we didn't spend all of that we received. So that remaining amount was $55,574 was unspent, and I'm going to carry that over into this year so we can spend those funds this year. So those are the 4 items that make up that $3.4 million.
And the $3.4 million is just a pot of money, $3.4 million added, or there's a difference between a starting number and this number?
So we did not budget
Okay.
any of these items in the original budget. Good question, though. So we are at this point putting these on the budget because this is really the AI and the safety grants received last year are carryover from last year, and then that new allotment of the $29,000 for the 15% we didn't receive last year, even though we were awarded that grant.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, she's going to do the others.
Okay, sir. Carry on.
And then we also have, hold on just a second.
This is the fund balance.
Yes, so there's also, and I'm sorry, if you add those amounts up, I'm still a little bit short coming back to that $3,424,000. So let me give you those other little amounts. I also had carryover for the school technology fund, that state money, $84 that I needed to budget. The summer reading camps, $74,632. And that's funding that we receive for our first and second graders and third graders that aren't demonstrating reading on grade level. So that's a summer program that we have. And so we didn't get all of those salaries paid before the end of last year. So we're carrying over what was left of that grant. We paid those salaries out in July, August. We also had $558 of at-risk student funding that will carry over. And that funding is used for intervention type services. And then we had $2,062 related to textbook and digital resources that we didn't spend all of that last year, that the state allows us to carry that over as well. And then career technical educational credential program. This is the program where students have the opportunity, if they're enrolled in those CTE courses, to earn industry recognition, get those credentials. We received an allotment of $88,964, so that's going to allow me to budget for them to take advantage of that opportunity. So I'm sorry, so that's all for the state. And so the local current expense, go through that one now, or do we have any questions on those, the state ones? For the local current expense fund amendment, so that was $275,749.63 in total, and that's made up of a carryover of $11,300 related to the technology intercom project for Hoggard High School. We didn't quite finish paying all those costs last year, but that was already budgeted, so we're just carrying that over to complete the project. The amendment also includes carryover of unused funds by board members. As you know, according to board policy 2130, whatever balances that are remaining carries over into the new year. So it's also carrying that number over. And I can't remember if I told you the amount, $7,522.31.
So Ashley, that 752231, that is money that we didn't spend and it's added to the fund balance? Or is it carried over into our account in the budget?
So Technically, how it works is when I close out the year, as part of that year-end process, it does drop into fund balance, and then I just budget that into your current, so you'll get your current year allocation, and then this would be in addition to that.
Okay, so it goes in and comes back out.
And,
Okay.
So all these carryover things, they are falling into fund balance, but it's carryover for projects or items that we've already obligated for, so we're just budgeting those in the new year.
But
And-
those things don't impact our fund balance a lot, you know, that we save. The number that we were using, it doesn't impact that number.
It does, so these would be in addition to the numbers that I gave you last spring.
That's what
And
I
we'll
meant.
talk about that
Yeah.
a little bit later on. So some of these things we knew we were going to carry over. We did some estimates. I'm not saying they were 100% accurate, but we did some estimates knowing that we weren't going to be able to fully spend all these, and we would need to budget those in this current year.
But under local current expense fund amendment number 1, that first one, the 275,749, that one is an expense taking out.
It is taken out of fund balance.
Thank you.
And then really the majority of that amendment is the $256,927.32 for the payout of the superintendent contract in accordance with General Statute 115C 271. And that was it for that local current expense amendment. I will make sure you guys don't have any questions.
Any questions, board members?
And, are you going to do the capital outlay?
Do you want me to do federal first, or you want me to go to capital?
No, you're good.
You want me to go to federal? Now, the federal is long, so just hang with
Okay.
me. I'm going to do the best I can, and if we need to stop in between, let me know. So this amendment was $4,726,469.42. This amendment, I'm going to go through it by program, since that's how DPI allocates. It's just easier to talk through. So we received for a career and technical education program improvement. That program provides assistance for developing skills of students who elect to enroll in CTE courses. We're allotting in this amendment for that program $62,445, and that is higher than what we had originally budgeted. So that's in addition to what was in the original budget. McKinney-Vento homeless. So what you'll see is when I'm going through this, there'll be things that we're carrying over, and then there'll also be, if we're having to make adjustments, what we estimated for those federal grants versus what it actually ended up being. So that's what you'll see as I'm going through, and I'm going to try my best to differentiate the different amounts. McKinney-Vento homeless assistance grant provides funding to develop services to meet the educational and related needs of homeless students. The amendment includes carryover in this program of $85,704.70. We also have carryover for the IDA Section 619 preschool grant, which provides funds to initiate and expand preschool special education and related services for children with disabilities ages 3 through 5. And that carryover amount is $36,806.86. We had Title I. We actually have an allotment adjustment and a carryover adjustment for Title I. That allotment adjustment is $67,154, and that was more than we initially had planned for, so that was a small increase there. And then we also had carryover, which was not included in the original budget, of $671,335.47. And that we're using, you guys probably heard us referring to this when we were talking about the preschool program and trying to rearrange things when we lost that contract. And so that carryover was designated to be used for preschool programs to help support to provide additional revenue source for them. We received, we have carryover in the amount of $288,596.27 for IDA Section 611, and that's Program 60 provides funding to initiate and expand and continue special education related services to children with disability ages 3 through 21. That carryover was not in the original budget, so that is being added. We have in this amendment carryover in the amount of $488,458.34 related to IDA Coordinated Early Intervention Services, which provides funding to develop and coordinate early intervention services. Also, when I say carryover, just know those carryover amounts were not included in the initial budget. So if I forget to say that through one of these. We received, we had allotment, and so there was an allotment and a carryover adjustment, but the net impact of that adjustment was $2,258, and it was actually less than what we originally had budgeted. And that was for IDA Special Education Improvement, which provides personnel development and program support services to improve the performance and success of students with disabilities. We have an adjustment of $417,505.40. Of that amount, $182,445.40 is related to carryover from the previous year. This is for Title II, supporting effective instruction, which provides funding to help increase the academic achievement of all students by ensuring that all teachers are highly qualified to teach. So I got another page and a half. We're going to get there. So Title III, English Language Acquisition, provides funding to help ensure that children who are English learners attain English proficiency, develop high levels of academic attainment in English, and meet the same state academic content and student achievement standards as non-English learners children. The amount of the carryover related to that program is $117,368.95. But the total amount, and so I'm sorry I didn't have the difference between these two numbers, but the total amount of the increase that's included in this amendment is $134,991.95. So like I said, of that amount, $117,000 is related to carryover. The other is an adjustment for that allotment. The Title I School Improvement funding provides assistance to schools which have been identified as schools in need of a comprehensive support and improvement under the state's federally approved Plan for Every Student Succeeds Act. For us, this is Freeman and Forest Hills falls under this category, so these are the only two schools that receive this funding. We had carryover in that program of $63,484.02. It was actually, that amount was actually less than what was originally budgeted for them, and so we've made that adjustment. The Title IV Student Support and Academic Achievement Funds are to improve student academic achievement by increasing the capacity to provide all students with access to a well-rounded education, improve school conditions for student learning, and improve the use of technology in order to improve the academic achievement and digital literacy of all students. The carryover related to that program was $229,686.76. Title III English Language Acquisitions, which is to provide funds for enhanced instructional opportunities for immigrant children and youth designed to, assist them in achieving in elementary and secondary schools to support personnel in providing services as well. The carryover for that program was actually a little less than we had estimated also. That was less by $8,939.13. The Title I school improvement funding, this funding we've talked about a little bit last year. This is competitive. It's not guaranteed from year to year. So we didn't have this included in the original budget either. This funding is only for Mosley. They had some carryover in this program from last year. The carryover amount is $232,718.68. We also have carryover in the amount of $3,609.86 related to IDA special needs targeted assistance. And that funding is for training for staff to support students with disabilities in targeted areas. We have carryover in the amount of $6,290.54. This is for IDA preschool targeted assistance funding, and this is for specific areas of need for students with disabilities. We had a little money left from the Rethink Education stipends funding. It was $250.19, and these payments go to our employees who participated in a DPI program. This is actually administered by DPI, but the participants have successfully completed the Rethink Education Facilitator Pathway, that professional development that DPI provides. And so as part of going through that, DPI provides funding to us, and then we just pay the teachers for them, is how that works. And so there was a little bit that hadn't been paid out at year end, but that should be paid, if not already, soon. And then we also had some carryover related to ESSER funding. So the ESSER 3 emergency relief funds, we had $1,119,272.85 left. That was not included in the original budget. ESSER 3 homeless, which of course addresses the needs of our homeless children stemming from the impact of the coronavirus. We had $98,438.09 to carry over into this year. ESSER 3 Summer Career Acceleratory, also to address the COVID-19 related needs. And this is a summer program to address learning loss and provide enrichment activities to students in grades 6 through 12. And that carryover amount was $324,283.94. ESSER 3 Supplemental Academic Enrichment Programs is also a summer program. The carryover related to that program was $525,052.04. ESSER 3 Cyberbullying and Suicide Prevention. We had carryover here as well, $68,508.80. We had ESSER 3 Career and Technical Education Hospitality funding that carried over, and this amount of this carryover was $3,660.48. ESSER 3 District and Regional Support School Improvement / Leadership to support low-performing schools in implementing flexible improvement and intervention options to address negative impacts of COVID-19. That carryover was $202.48. And then we also had carryover, and this is the final one, ESSER 3 National Board for Professional Teaching Standards Certification Reimbursement Program. We had $3,332.57 left in that program that will carry over into this year. So all of those things make up that federal amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Sutton. Very, very full.
We're not done. There's still
She's not done.
Yeah, so that's
She's not
So
done.
now we're on capital.
Just a question. Would
Yes.
it not make more sense for our finance committee to go through this instead of, I mean, not, you know, I think we have one board member that's that we're all interested. I'm not saying I'm interested, but I think that maybe
Right.
the finance committee going through this with you might make more sense. If we do
Make
what
more
we are.
sense to have a handout, that's slapped it, bless your heart. I'm sorry, you had to do that.
The bottom line on that last one is we picked up like $1.6 million in ESSER carryover money, you know, and when we constantly hear that we're broke, we can't afford anything, I think it's important when we do find that there's money that is carried over that we talk about it.
Right.
Well, we could have found that out, just having it handed out, and everybody does math at the table, I hope. I'm sorry, but we just spent too long talking about things we and that's not your fault.
We appreciate it.
Ashley, do you have a net gain or loss of where we ended up with this budget amendment? To where we're in our budget so that we,
So some of these things where we're carrying money over, it's not free money. We already have it obligated. So like the summer programs, we already had the program. We just haven't necessarily paid all the salaries or the extended employment or what have you at the point, you know, where I ran this, well, as of June 30th. And then like a lot of the ESSER 3, or probably HVAC projects, some of those projects carried over to this year. There were some salary things that we had coded to ESSER where we had some lapsed salaries, so that would be some funding that's available, and our plan would be, once we make sure we cover all of the HVAC and whatever those projects were left at June 30th, not completely paid out, that we would use that to help cover the salary, you know, help us with that attrition budget if we need it. And so that could possibly be there. I don't remember, honestly, off the top of my head, how much of that amount was, you know, repair type work versus salaries that would actually be there. Well, you know, we don't have an obligation right now for it, if that makes sense. But I can definitely provide that to you.
does this budget amendment change our overall budget numbers? Because, I mean, the next one's 13 million something, and the next one after that's 13 million plus
Yep.
937. So it's a lot of money.
So, yeah, but, so capital, that 13 million, those are capital projects that we already have in place. So unless we decide we're not going to finish those projects, that's no money for you.
So
Does
with
that
the
make
capital, I
sense?
think it's a good example. These projects run, from maybe.
I understand that, Eddie.
June to August. So
I
it's
do.
kind of reallocating or re-encumbering those funds. They're not funds that are available to reallocate to another project.
I do get that.
And then, so that it kind of explains the capital. And then the other restricted funds that you see there, because that was a big increase too. That is, a lot of that is carryover for grants and donations that are given directly to us. So once again, it is money that's carrying over, but those grants or donations say they have to be spent on certain things, so it's not like I can just use that funding to fund something different. Now, included in that other restricted fund, we do have some monies that's carrying over related to utilities and insurance, because we usually like to have a little cushion there, because we don't know if utilities are going to go up during the year or if the insurance rates go up during the year. So once I know what those rates are during the year, I'll know if we have some cushion there as well, but I don't know that quite yet.
So does this budget amendment affect the overall budget amount, what we have budgeted, in a plus or a minus column?
It's a plus.
Do you know that number?
I would have to go back through this and identify what's already obligated versus what we have more flexibility on. So I'm sorry, I don't have that number with me. I didn't look at it that way, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
I do, thank you, Ms. Sutton. And I do see Ms. Smiles has joined us, so if she would step up to the podium, I guess. And, Ms. Bradford had a question or two about pre-K.
So what you should have are 9 contracts for our NC pre-kindergarten from the state level. So we contract with 9 private sites to carry out services for eligible 4-year-olds in our program. We are currently the contracting agency, and this is driven by our New Hanover County NC Pre-K Kindergarten Advisory Committee. And so they voted on these numbers. We'll have 228 slots for our private sites, and these are the 9 subcontracts.
Just a question. I don't think that this was mentioned in Ashley's presentation. Was this a required summer school,
Was this
the
required?
reading, this past summer? Was it required?
Required by, so the state, if the students are not performing at grade level, that is the requirement.
So every kid showed up?
Now, whether they showed up or not, I think we're required to offer it to them. Now, whether they show up or not, and maybe
So
someone on the other side.
To me, the
might-
academics of it, what's important. So how many showed up and how many were identified that should have showed up? And I'm saying this ahead of time because I asked this a couple of years ago, why we didn't retain 3rd graders who didn't come to the summer school, but we passed them when they were reading 2 grade level below. So I'm just curious what we got out of this money and what the numbers are. Because if we're going to improve education, it's got to start at the elementary school.
And I think Mr. Walt has that information.
I'm trying to throw you under the bus, I just,
You're talking about 3rd grade only?
with the 1 and 2 reading?
For the summer school reading, Read to Achieve camps?
Yes.
So you're talking about 3rd grade only, is that correct?
Well, whatever, just,
Okay, I'll find out.
I'm sorry, I didn't tell you, I'm
No,
not
it's
telling you
okay.
about just.
No,
when you get
it's
here.
fine, I'll find out for you.
But I'd love to know how many were identified.
How many were
showed up.
identified as qualifying? And then how many of those qualifying students attended, correct? I got you.
Please,
All right,
thank you.
you're welcome.
That wasn't for Shannon. Shannon, that just,
Yeah, no,
was just one of
that's
those
great.
little rabbit trails.
I won't get back to you on that one. But this is a 3-year contract because, by state law, it's advised by the advisory council. That is required members such as DHHS representative, DSSS, which is New Hanover County HHS now. So there's mandatory members that have to make these decisions. I just want to be clear that it's not Shannon making these decisions. So it's a 3-year process. They voted on 3 years. You could do 2 years, but they voted on a 3-year process unless there's something that has been identified as they're not meeting the compliance or the requirements set forth by the state for NC Pre-K. So, and I will be doing that monitoring again this year. So it's great news. Any questions?
Any questions?
So this one's pretty dumb. Child Development Center, Inc. is the blanket organization, or is that in the contracts? I'm looking at them. We've got 145 pages here.
Okay, Child Development Center is one of our contracted centers for NC Pre-K, who also contract with special needs Pre-K.
So how many of them?
They have 39 slots.
Thank you.
So there are an additional 80 to 90 slots that we use for preschoolers with significant disabilities.
So our total number is?
So right now, our number is about 55 or 60, but we will grow to somewhere between 80 and 90 slots in this school year for preschoolers with disabilities, and then add that to...
Yeah. And our targeted service rate for just this program, for the state program, is between 608 and 628.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let me know if I can help.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Ms. Miles. Appreciate you. All right, we're going to go back to going down our list. And again, please stop us if we need to. We covered A, B, and C. The MOU between New Hanover County Board of Education and the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. Again, if I don't hear something, I'm going to keep going.
You're good.
MOU between the Board of Education and Riceville Beach Foundation. the NCDOT request to acquire the right-of-way at Johnson Pre-K Center. I think we all like to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, we would.
And is that something you have for closed session, or is that something you can talk about now? Okay.
So I'm sure you're all aware that there's been a big push to bring passenger rail back to Wilmington. And the DOT Rail Division is now in the process of acquiring right-of-way for that rail extension. And it does include Johnson Pre-K, which historically has had a lot of rail activity in the past. So, okay, there you go. Need a pointer. But, so the red, in the center right there is, yeah, that's the cursor is identifying the right-of-way that is being acquired. And and it does encroach into Johnson Pre-K site, but the site is a little over 41 acres. The right-of-way is about 13, leaving 27.5 acres for Johnson Pre-K Center. Still a little larger than the average. If we were building a new elementary school today, we would want to acquire 20 acres. So we still have adequate acreage. The impact, it does, we were out there the other day looking at where that right-of-way comes, and we're going to relocate some playground equipment, and I think in the end it'll work out best to kind of bring that playground in a little bit anyway. It's very large. It's a very large playground for pre-K. So this is the offer. It includes the right-of-way acquisition as well as what they call improvements acquired, which basically they're going to pay us to then move that playground equipment. They made an original offer. We had quotes to get that work done. It was about $9,500 more expensive than they offered. That's why there's an amendment letter. They did increase their offer. It's a total of $1,706,785.
Question? Kathy?
I have a question when it's my turn.
Go ahead. Okay.
Is there a reason why we didn't know about it? I'm not being mean. I'm just curious, how come we did not know about it until last week? And it's been in play for so long. So for example, if the media had called us up and asked us how we felt about it, we would have said, huh? We don't know what you're talking about. So why was the board not even just in the loop anywhere?
It's been months ago, but we did discuss it in closed session at a previous board meeting.
Okay.
And, but then most recently, I could have put it in a board memo.
Ms. Walker? And Ms. Graybill?
Thank you. I have a two-part question. The first one is, obviously there's plenty of room and obviously it'll work out because you've been out to the site. For future rail corridor, I mean, it's going to be, you're going to still get in and out of the school, everything's going to be okay. Are they going to put a buffer around it eventually? I guess this is long-term planning because I'm sure rail's not going to get here for, gosh, I'm guessing another at least decade or more. Did you talk about that at all?
There's not a buffer that is proposed in the offer, but there's, we can certainly put, we could do a landscape buffer or we could do, a fence, but there's not anything specific in the offer for that.
Right.
That would be something that we would have to do on our outside of the right-of-way.
I feel like but that's just me. The second question is the money from this goes back into our capital fund. So, that we get 1.7
let Ashley take that one.
I'm actually going to put that in the other restricted fund, so that we can account for it there and the board can determine what they want to do with those funds. So right now there's, unless you guys want to do a fence or a buffer or something like that, there's no plan for that money at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Graybill?
Yeah, I'm going to leave my camera off because I look bad and sweaty. The two questions for you, Eddie. So are we going to ask for a noise analysis for when trains go by, and will that be disruptive to the learning environment?
I have not considered that. These will be passenger trains. They will not be freight trains.
But they're still loud. I mean, you can hear a train coming by.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to throw that into the mix as we're talking about, noise mitigation. Do we need any of the barrier walls like we would have on the highway? So I wanted to throw that out, and then also ask the question: how close would our children ever be to this train, to the train line?
Well, it's 100-foot right-of-way. The tracks are further away from the school within that right-of-way. But there's also a fence that separates the playground from the right-of-way.
Okay. All right, so, and then I guess my last question is, how does this rail line play into that Oasis Field of Dreams, Oasis project that is proposed for that same area?
It definitely encroaches, not significantly, but it does encroach slightly on the north side.
Okay, so is that something that we have to, I know we haven't done anything official with that organization, but with the prospect?
They're aware of this. I have made them aware of this, months ago.
We'll go one more time, because we were just talking about this. I know Ms. Crable brought it up, and I just did as well about the buffer. I personally don't feel like the district should bear the burden of the cost for that. I know it's going to be in the future. I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate to make that motion now, or if this is for future boards. If we make a motion now on this board and we're it's like 10 years out, will it still stand? Or do we need to write a resolution?
I think that, what your motion could be is that you would not accept the offer and ask DOT to revise their offer to include construction of a, solid buffer between the right-of-way and the remaining school property.
I feel like that's wise. Do y'all feel like that would be a good thing to do? Because, like I said, it's probably a decade or more out, but at the same time, if we don't ask for that now, it's going to come out of our own budgets, and I don't think that's right. So I will make a motion that we, Eddie, I guess in your wisdom, can you request?
Well, I don't know if it's a motion or if it's just the will or consent of the board, we can pull this item and then I'll go back to DOT.
Okay, does that need to be a motion? Yes, pull it.
Consent agenda for next week. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor of pulling item, let's make sure we get the right letter here.
Just out of curiosity, hold just one second. Is this something you could work out between now and next Tuesday? Should we
No,
pull
ma'am.
it? Okay, all right, fine. Then thanks.
So pull item F off of the consent agenda to have further discussion with DOT.
Yeah.
So first and second, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Mr. Chair.
I'm going to say that with 6-0.
Okay. I guess.
Oh, wait, Pete, I voted yes.
Okay, then I was correct. It was 6-0.
So I guess just as when you go talk, I don't know how much or how eminent domain works. I mean, obviously they're going to want to. This is eminent domain?
No,
Or
ma'am, this is.
Okay.
They can do that, but right now this is just an offer to the Board of Education.
Okay. All right, we're going to carry on with item G. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Resolution in support of the City of Wilmington Bridge Investment Grant. Ms. Walker.
So I guess it's kind of related to transportation. I think it's a good resolution. Obviously, this is an attempt to get the DOT to help fund these projects. And I assume that means it's going to make it score higher, maybe to get money. I didn't realize that the 4th Street Bridge or the Pine Grove Bridge were not safe. How long have we known about that? I mean, I've been across the 4th Street Bridge. It is an older bridge, but I never thought it was unsafe. And buses cannot go across those bridges right now?
They can.
Okay.
And we do go across those bridges, but it's been identified as a high priority.
All right.
And the city transportation is seeking a grant through the U.S. Department of Transportation and Federal Highway Administration. So this is a resolution that they requested of the Board of Education and the county commissioners so that they could put this resolution of support in their grant application.
Okay. So they're still safe, but they're getting close to not being safe.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
What is the safe age of a bridge? Because 4th Street is like 75 years old.
Well, it was built in 1950.
Yeah, that's going to be 75 years old.
So they, yeah, I think there was somewhere in here, there was, in the resolution, it talks about the rating and that they're in fair condition, but if something isn't done, it could go to poor condition in, I think, 3 years.
And it says right there in the third whereas, this means the bridge can no longer accommodate buses and emergency response vehicles. It says it right there in the resolution. Since 2016.
It said will fall into poor condition within 3 years. So they're in fair right now. The second, I think you're looking at the second whereas paragraph. It says.
I'm in the third.
Okay. Well, the second one says the 2 bridges are currently rated fair, but will fall into the poor condition in 3 years.
How much do our...
I see that. Ms. Bradford, I don't think they're talking about school buses, but I can make sure. Because we haven't been notified that we're, restricted from using that bridge.
Chairman Mortimer asked, how much does a school bus full of children weigh?
I don't know that off
It
the top
says
of my
10
head.
tons.
Right.
Doesn't sound like it.
Okay. All right, we're going to carry on then, unless there's more questions on this section. Designer selection for the New Hanover High School facility study and master plan.
Yeah, sorry.
Ms. Walker?
Well, I guess this would save us next week talking about it, because we've been waiting to hear about this, and I would love to hear a little bit. Looks like y'all did a good job with the process. You invited some good folks in to be part of it, and I'm excited to vote on it, to get it going. The timeline, do we want to hear, it's to hear like an update of how it went, and realistically.
On the process?
Yeah, on the process, and yeah.
I can, we advertised it. We had, 4 responses, really 3 firms, and then the 4th was a joint venture between 2 local firms, BMH Architects and LS3P Associates. Our concern going into this project, as you know, as I mentioned, it's really, 2 parts. One is a very comprehensive facilities assessment to tell us exactly what the condition of the existing building is and what renovation and repairs are needed to bring it up to current standards. The second is a master plan process, and the reason I wanted to invite Cassie Rimple is because I see that process as being very open and engaging. We're going to engage students, we're going to engage staff, parents, the community. It'll be very similar to the process that we used at Isaac Bear. So we want to start out, being, following that as well. So I think that where our concerns, or my concerns personally, was just that the size of the project. Was there any one local firm that really had the manpower and the expertise to, to tackle this project? Huge undertaking. And I do believe that the team with LS3 and BMH, they bring strengths that complement each other, and that collectively they'll do a great job.
I believe, when I think it's a good idea to have someone local as well that knows the delicate history and feelings people are going to have over this process, and rightly so. Yeah, I think I had another question. Can I come back? Anybody else have a question and come back to me, or no?
Those have questions on this?
You answered mine.
Go, Ms. Craybill? Go ahead, Ms.
Yeah,
Craybill.
Eddie, is this LS3 previously, is this the company that was previously Boney, who has done a lot of our other school work?
Yes, ma'am.
Or a branch off? Okay. Yeah, I wanted to just put in a plug for that, because they are very familiar with our school district and our requirements, and some of the differences that we have, nuances that we have that other counties don't have. So that would be, to me, would be a positive.
Yes, LS3P as well as BMH, both firms are have local Wilmington offices. They are very familiar not only with the school system and our standards, but both of them have experience working at New Hanover High School.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah, I just remembered my question. So I know this is, obviously they're professionals and they're going to get going on this. Are they going to have access to the plan from 1999? I mean, it just might make their jobs a little bit easier to know what previous issues were.
We will give them access to all the information we have. I want to do that in a manner that's not restricting them. I don't want to hand it to them and say, this is the master plan we want. But, yes, we'll give them information or access to all the information we have.
Awesome, thank you.
Carrying on, letter I, contract for the Child Development Center for Developmental Day Preschool Services. Questions? No?
She can explain it. I do want an explanation. It's important.
Yes, so just give a quick overview? Okay.
Yes, please.
So we participate in the receipt of developmental day services for our preschoolers with disabilities. So we don't use developmental day services for any other population. Developmental day is a high level of service that can really only be provided by a 5-star facility, and the Child Development Center provides those for us for, this year it'll be up to 90. Last year, I can't remember, it was somewhere between 80 and 90 students, and that number changes based on the number of slots that the Department of Public Instruction will assign to us. So we always ask for around 90. These services are for students with significant disabilities because we start evaluating them by the time they are 2 years, 6 months. And then so if we're knowledgeable of a toddler that may have a disability, and once we do that evaluation, we're ready to start them in preschool services by the time they're 3. So we provide the transportation. The Child Development Center provides the licensed teaching staff, maintaining the ratios, and then for IEP meetings, like the individualized education programs for each student, they handle the IEP meetings, and we provide an administrator or a teacher leader to participate. This is money that is provided to us from the state fund, state budget.
Okay, no questions? Hearing none, we'll carry on. Contract amendment, for speech language therapy services, Coastline Therapy Group, LLC. Okay.
I just appreciate
Ms. Mason? Ms. Mason?
In speaking with some parents and a couple of principals, how are we doing on the searches for SLPs? Obviously, it's a difficult position to find. How are we doing on those searches?
It is very difficult. Thank you for asking that. We have our team has engaged in cold calling companies to just see if you have someone that isn't completely tapped out in their schedule, how much time could we contract for. The hourly rate has definitely increased over the past year or two. And we have our special ed director, Joanna Souza, who does a phenomenal job, has been in dialogue, and I'm included in these, with our state director for Exceptional Children Division. And we have asked to sit down with them, have a discussion on any other strategies they see across the state that might be working for filling in the gaps. We often hear that we have less of a gap than some places, and we know that it's a critical shortage area. But it's not just in the state, it's across the nation.
Thank you. All right, carrying on, the Beta Home Health One-on-One Nursing. Ms. Bradford?
I just like an overview. We talked about that, Ms. Varnum and I did, and I think it's important that we go over these, because this is a significant amount. The last one was over $1 million, so I think it's significant. We know what we're saying yes to.
Right. So we are required under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is federal legislation that governs over the services for students with disabilities. We are required to provide the services that the IEP teams deem are necessary in order for the student to be safely educated. And we do have students that require one-to-one registered nurses with them through the extent of the school day. And if we transport them on a bus, then we have to have that on the bus as well. So this is from the very beginning of their school day to the end of their school day. And so Bieta is one of the companies that we use for one-to-one nursing. Again, there is a shortage of nurses that are available to us. So we use multiple different companies. Very often, a family that has a child that is this medically fragile already have a nursing company that works with them in their home, and we seek to maintain that continuity of care, because a medically fragile child's care and their ability to be safely educated in school is very much determined by a medical provider that knows the extent of their needs.
What can we do to this end with the hearing? What can we do? Is there anything we can do to help? There is a shortage. How does one overcome the shortage?
Oh, I think that's way bigger than us, but I think that we should definitely be a part of the conversation. If we figured it out and Novant didn't, they'd want to know what we figured out. So I think as an educational entity, and I'm just going to go off on the fly here, as an educational entity, when we know that there are shortages in the workforce, we have to, ask ourselves, what are we doing within our instruction and within our design of our curriculum to prepare students to go into that world of work in those areas. On the shorter side of that, again, working with the Department of Public Instruction, what strategies have other school districts used if they've been able to close their vacancy gaps, and especially in critical areas like this. So we're engaging in those conversations, but a lot of that is going to come down to what type of benefits are we able to provide, what type of flexibilities are we able to provide. And again, these are contracted companies that, bring in those qualified individuals looking for that flexibility.
Walker?
And I just want to add, because I think this is true, we are federally mandated and obligated to our students that way, and so I imagine a lot of funding comes from federal dollars.
It does. I'll jump on a little bandwagon here too. Yes, we are required to provide all the services, and we're required under IDEA, of course, which is federal and overseen, written by Congress. The IDEA regulations do express all of our requirements, and the IDEA regulations also express that Congress will provide 40% of the funding that it takes to implement IEPs. and we consistently get an average of 15%. That's across the nation. I know we've had this conversation before. I say this a lot to parent groups, and I say this, to administrators, and I know we've had the conversation before. It is a definite issue that requires some federal discussions, but as one of the writers of the grant, and now Dr. Barnes will have to sign an assurance as well, we will not lobby for those federal funds, but we certainly can communicate that we do not receive enough of them.
So you cannot lobby.
We personally cannot lobby. He will learn that when he signs the grant this
But
coming
we
year.
can.
But we can, right?
Absolutely,
Everyone else
but I
can.
can't.
Everybody else can.
But she didn't say that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's true. Well, so 40%, we're only getting 15.
On an average of 15.
On
I had a legal update 2 weeks ago, and we had someone come in from a federal organization that supports the Association for School Administrators, and shared that the current distribution of funds for IDEA is at 13%, but there have been times when it was 18%. So I say it's an average of 15, but it's currently 13%.
So we make up that, but obviously local and.
Wow.
We do. We make that up as best we can with using efficiently all of our state funds, our local funds, and then also our Medicaid reimbursed funds.
Okay, thank you.
All right, carrying on, Center for Pediatric Behavioral Health, Applied Behavior Support. Okay, MOU of understanding between New Hanover County Schools and Appalachian State University. Turn over to Ms. Mason for our policy.
Mr. Chair, that's still 5 minutes, Dr. Barnes, for that.
Oh, I forgot that was my job. Quite frankly, it's been a while since we got there.
You had one job.
But see, we do
I
not
heard the
have
same
to
thing
do,
just a
we
minute
don't
ago.
have to do budget next Tuesday, so you're saving an hour
So-
there.
If I'm going to use this as an average time of how long it'll take, you might want to bring your
No, we
sleeping
don't have to
bag.
do it again.
So 5 minutes then.
So let's say it's 5 minutes, okay. Policy consensus.
So there's only 3 policies for policy consensus and the universal committee interest form. Those were all either changes done by staff or changes that we had made. I had met with the student voice team. The previous leadership of the student voice team made those changes. And then as far as policy for second reading, it's pretty straightforward. Unless there's concerns or questions, I would leave it at 10.
Ms. Walker?
I just wanted to add, and this is fine. I intend to work with the policy chair and you as point councilman, but also Mr. Chair, to get that in writing. And so I know I saw sustainability was on there, so that's awesome. And I think you said you were holding in committee too, in order to change
The policy itself is being held in committee.
Okay.
In discussion, when we talked about sending the universal form, we had talked about in that meeting, in the task force meeting, you had all made those decisions previously, and so at this point, it's not urgent that we put it on there, since it's not officially a committee.
So that's what I was going to say. We're working on that. I'm going to agree to before you have the date for the policy meeting.
It's had to be changed
Yeah, it's
due
a week
to, I don't think it's been changed on my, but I believe, Dr. Barnes, we had talked, because originally it's the same day as another event.
We have another surprise event on October 15th, so we really would like to move.
We moved it to the 22nd.
To the 22nd, so it should be the 22nd.
October 22nd. And you'd like to get materials to you?
I need to put them on, I believe, if you could get them to me in the next couple weeks, that would be great.
Okay.
That way we can get them in, and obviously, I'm rolling out of here on the, what is it, the 5th, 3rd? I just want to make sure it's all done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying say 10?
Yeah.
10, okay. All right, then we have old business, New Hanover County High School, 10 minutes, that's good.
Yeah, 10 minutes is plenty. We'll give you an update on the current work that's ongoing and where we are, and mobiles and construction. And while Ms. Bradford, I owe you an apology. It wasn't in closed session, it was in a board memo. I think I shared the Johnson pre-K.
Thank you.
I can't find where it was in closed session.
Perhaps I was sleeping in
But it
closed
was
session.
in,
Didn't remember that.
And it's been quite some time, so, you know, we've been working on this for over 2 years now, so, but I apologize for that.
Thank you.
All right, carrying on, we don't have anything at this point under new business, or we will probably not have a closed session. No,
Unless something changes.
And then we have correspondence, 5 minutes, announcements, 5 minutes. Dr. Barnes, how long will that take us?
All right, sunset next Thursday is at 7:04. We'll be out in the dark, but we'll be back. I have us out before 8 o'clock.
Okay, very good.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Excellent.
Are you serious?
Include a little bit of bathroom time in there too?
2 hours, 45 minutes.
Okay, good. All right, board members, I do see that Ms. English and Ms. Primavera have joined us, so I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda and allow them to jump in at this point. I know that we're supposed to have a closed session first, but we'll put that afterwards. We do need a supermajority for this. All in favor? Any discussion? If not, we also, just to let you know, board members, we also have the young gentleman with the lookup app in the wings, so maybe we can do his presentation after this, and then we'll get into our closed session. So we have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye. That carries 6-0. Ladies, welcome. It's so good to have you here today. And come on, step on up.
Members of the board, thank you so much for welcoming Laura and I in to catch you guys up on what's going on with our middle school career awareness program. I get more and more excited about this vision that I had a number of years ago, and finally found the willing partners in New Hanover County Schools and the best implementer I've ever met in Laura to bring it to life. And as you know, the General Assembly awarded the Chamber Foundation the funds to expand the program to all 1,700 plus 7th graders. Yes, that definitely a celebration, as they are looking for ways to provide this career directional advice, counsel to students across the state. When they find an innovative program, they want to check it out and see if it can be expanded and scaled right to a whole school system first. And then Laura and I have grand plans for expanding it, at least in southeastern North Carolina. You know, there's a talent war, and we have to be winning that war at every level. If you're talking about nurses and the nursing workforce or any other, we're all fighting, right, to find and retain the best talent. And it's not, you know, we've always viewed this as a funnel, right? We have this many people entering kindergarten, and then we lose this many people in middle school, and then high school, and then college. We've got to stop looking at it like a funnel and instead a pipeline. And so the programs that we at the Chamber are working on at every level of education, and then also for adult education and the partners that we work with, is creating that pipeline. And so identifying students in middle school who have an affinity or an aptitude for some type of a career, and then we help them stay in that pipeline for as long as they want to be in the pipeline, right? We're not forcing them to make a pipeline choice at 12 years old, but we're helping them along the way. And the CTE team has been amazing in their support. Our transportation team has been amazing in their support. And so Laura wanted to catch you up, because scaling it to all of our 7th graders was a monumental task. I'm glad I didn't have to be in those weeds. It's not my thing, but they've done an amazing job, and also partnering to create a program that is also complementary and additive to the current curriculum. So I'll let Laura give you guys some details, and we'll answer any questions.
It will not let me mute.
Neat. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. We are in year 3 of the program. It's 1,758 students. I just want to be accurate with the amount that we are serving. We have over 80 industry partners across all 8 of the industries listed in the New Hanover County Economic Mobility Report. We have plans for a May showcase for the 7th grade experience that they're experiencing this year. We will be inviting you all to, as well as all of our industry partners and our funders from the state level. We have an 8th grade mentor program that's in its 2nd year. We flew about 25 8th grade mentors who graduated from the 7th grade experience to Fort Lauderdale and Tampa, August 22nd and 23rd, to explore aviation careers. And we are currently working on the 9th grade expansion. I don't want to talk too much about that, but it is underway and I'm excited. So this is more than just a 7th grade experience. It is, to Natalie's point, it is a pipeline, it is an academy, and we're excited to see where these first year kids end up over their high school career. So I just wanted to speak about the strong partnership that I've experienced with the New Hanover County Schools. From the initial meetings with administration and principals to really understand what the needs are and how we could collaborate to get that buy-in and partnership from the school level. I have 19 school champions that are counselors or social workers for the most part across all 8 schools, that they're doing a lot of the logistical work from the inside and then communicating with me to the outside, everything from name tags and portfolios and cohort breakdowns and dietary restrictions and transportation and travel tracker. That's their role. I have over 70 7th grade teachers that are receiving supplemental pay for their efforts that we're asking of them to ensure that these surveys are filled out, that the questionnaires are filled out about their experience and their learning as they're on these trips. That does include substitute pay for EC and ESL teachers that are having to leave the classroom to come on these trips. We are covering any substitute pay for those teachers to be on these industry exploration days. We had 8 curriculum alignment folks come in as independent contractors this summer. They were current educators or retired educators from the school system who took this Career and Leadership Development Academy and the fake curriculum. I've never been in the school system, but I was trying my best those first 2 years to make it align. And now we actually do have these samples I'd like to pass around to you. Thanks. Where they took what we were trying to do and then align it with the state learning standards. There's only about 10 copies, so if you'll just ensure everybody that needs them has them, that would be great. So they worked with us for 4 days. And we fed them, and they gave us these products. We have a full classroom, Google Classroom that all of the educators are using. So we actually have something tangible, which makes me very, very happy. We will be meeting with them in February for a mid-year check-in to see if anything needs to be tweaked, and then working again in July for the upcoming school year. We have chamber facilitators that are part-time employees of the chamber who are helping execute these trips. It's 172 trips over the school year. It's 26 in one month and 17 in another, and there's only us, so we had to hire some extra folks. So they are out making sure these trips are being executed. And then our evidence-based research is in partnership with UNCW. We've been doing that we're entering our 2nd year, so we have year 1 research. They're working on the qualitative analysis of last year's, and then we will start reviewing the findings from this year. The portrait of a graduate, 7 employability skills, and the 8 industries and careers are what we're exploring. So you can see there some of our partners, the FAQs that were put together. They were also translated in Spanish and provided to schools in Spanish. The surveys are also in Spanish for the students and parents. 8th grade mentors were at open house. We've done 4 schools so far this month, and we had to cancel Myrtle Grove due to the storm, which we hope to reschedule either in October or in April. But the feedback is phenomenal from not only the students and the industry partners, but our teachers as well, who at first were, concerned about those days out of the classroom, but are really seeing and are inspired by what we are accomplishing at the chamber with our industry partners. So that is the update as of today. And we have 3 more schools out in October, and then we'll be done with the round 1 of trips.
Questions, board members?
I would just say thank you, Laura and Natalie. It's very exciting. I don't know if it's a common thing now, but for a chamber to be this immersed in education is just wonderful.
I will tell you, I get to meet with my partners on a regular basis across the country, and there are things that chambers are doing now in communities that we didn't do in the past, simply because there were other people in those spaces, right? And now, for the chamber's role to make sure our economy and our local community or region is successful, we have to play in spaces that we had not before potentially. And so I was kind of raised in the chamber business that you do step in and help public education with the role that they play in ensuring people are prepared to enter the workforce. And so I feel like I have to do it. I feel like I know it's my calling to do what I do, but this partnership is really important for the future of our community.
And it is now an nationally award-winning program. We received the Excellence in Innovation Award at the Association of Leadership Professionals conference this summer. And so I normally don't brag about awards, but Natalie is teaching me to celebrate these wins. So it is being recognized across the nation.
Should have definitely bragged
Mr.
about
Wildebohr,
that. Hold on. You definitely
have a
brag
comment,
about
Ms.
that
Martin.
because it's good to know, and everyone needs to know it. I know that I think most of us attended the dinner, you call it the graduating part of it. It was, the energy was high. It was so positive, and I like your discussion about a pipeline because we definitely need to build, invest, and retain our workforce. I know a little bit of the work on the task force that you're obviously a part of discusses that, and I think we've got 2 schools that do the Leader in Me program, and we're hoping to hopefully add another, and it fits with this Portrait or graduate personal responsibility, adaptability, collaboration, and I think that the earlier the better. This is great because middle schoolers are probably starting to think about their college career or their work career or their trade career, and this really helps them get hands-on experience, and it's something that I never had. They give you little quizzes when you're younger. They're like, what would you like to do? What are your interests? But this is the way you figure it out. And, I think we need a variety of workforce options. I think this is a great program, and I'm so excited. I hope that, so the funding is, I think, through the state. And
Thanks to the chairman and a few school board members who went to Raleigh and again bragged on our behalf about what we were building, and our delegation thought it would be a great idea for our program to be one of 3 pilots in a career awareness space for this school year. And so there are 2 other counties. They're both east of I-95, which I found just shocking that happened. But I think it's Rocky Mount, Nash County, and Wilson are the other 2 programs. So yes, it's and it was a 1-year expectation or a 2-year funding, right? So it was the 2-year biennium. But we have until December of 26 because the budget was adopted so late this year, or last year. So we think we are going to be able to run the program for 2 full 7th grade cohorts, while of course there's other funding that is going into this work that we're doing. We are looking at our corporate partners, we're looking at other foundations and other grants. The endowment has historically been a partner, a small one, but still one that helped us to build the program.
awesome. That's why you got to talk about your award.
Exactly.
Ms. Graybill.
Yeah, I was going to, before Laura jumped in to do her bragging, I was going to brag on her behalf, so I'm glad that she did that. But I haven't been able to make any of these trips this fall, and I'm really bummed, but I have heard good feedback from professional colleagues and from students that they are going well and everybody loves them. So I look forward to joining you guys again in the new year to get on board with this. To let you know that the construction industry is still looking really hard for every aspect. And I know that we have a really strong component of construction in your program.
Thank you, Ms. Graybill, and I will echo everyone. Go ahead,
Well, thank you. Just absolutely marvelous. The younger you can get students, however many you can, to focus on what they might want to do, explore, is where it is. I have a good friend I attended a board meeting at the airport, their board, and they are also interested, if that fits, you may know that, in the aviation arena, not only flying, but mechanics make a big problem.
Just had a call this morning with the folks at, with Principal Little and Burroughs and the grant money that's coming in for that.
Well,
So we're talking about the aviation piece next and getting those folks working at Modern Aviation and Aero Center.
I went to one of their meetings, and they're there, they really want to be involved in anything that you can at this level, but I love it, I hope you can do this.
And if I could, thank you so much. And I can just share one story. I'm all about the stories and qualitative. Brian Jones called me right after the storm, and he's like, I have 2 kids that lost a home and another kid who's lost their only family car. But I had to tell you, after Murray's trip, there were kids that came back that have never been excited about school, that have never talked, that came back from that trip and were excited about what they experienced that day. So if that's how we can catch them and get them engaged, then I think we're doing a good thing.
And that's important. And on the other end of that, we have industry partners now who get why, Ms. Bradford, I've been in their faces for years telling them they've got to get involved in public education to continue to expose students to the work we need them to do in the future.
I was going to say that I'll echo what my colleagues have said. I think this is outstanding. This is exactly what we need to do with our young folks and get them focused and get them excited. I mean, that's it. I look at the 2 of you and I see the excitement. So, I mean, and that carries over to our students and to our staff. So thank you for everything you guys have been doing.
Thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Mr. Wildebohr, can I add one more thing too?
You thought you were going to go. Go ahead.
I thought I was getting, no, this isn't a question, this is just another kudos, is that Natalie and Laura and Dr. Barnes, Josie and I think are the people that are making a presentation at the NCSBA annual conference to our counterparts, board counterparts across the state to talk about what we have done. We already did a little mini presentation this summer, but this is a bigger audience. So I'm excited for more people to hear about us, and we've had a chance to do phase 1, and so we'll have a good presentation for our counterparts across the state.
Thank you. And board members, just to let you know that the young gentleman who is going to do the presentation on the Lookup app needs about 3 or 4 minutes to switch over, so why don't we take a 5-minute break if you need your restroom or whatever, and then we'll be back in 5 minutes, and we should have he'll be queued up to go. Oh, you guys part of that?
Okay, I need to
Not later, I guess. Oh,
We
got one.
Everybody. It's
All right. We, Ms. Walker, if we could? Oh, again, she's getting you. Thank you. All right. We're going to grab a couple more board members, and then we'll let you guys crank up.
I will go ahead and get it all together.
Thank you.
Heard those cats.
Heard those cats. Come on. Set? Okay. All right, here we go. Very excited to have you all here. Everybody cleaning up their chairs over there? All clean? All right. Ms. Mason's resupplied me with candy, so I'm ready to go. Plenty of sugar. Thank you again for being here. We will turn it over to you. There he is.
Hello. Hello, hello. It's good to see you guys.
Hi.
Oh, there you
Hi.
are. Hey,
Yeah, some familiar faces.
how's school?
School is good, going really well. Beautiful. California is beautiful, so.
It's raining here.
Lucky.
Yeah, run that in.
Awesome. Is it possible if I share my screen, or should we just, is that not gonna be able to work right now?
We're thinking about it.
It's okay. We can just speak if that's easier. Yeah. Sorry?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead without the sharing.
Okay. Okay, with that, okay, sounds good. Awesome. Thank you everyone for having me. My name is Salman Bond, as a few of you already know, and I'm a member of the Lookup nonprofit. We want to thank you today for giving us the opportunity to speak about a critical issue impacting our students in our county's academic and social development.
My name is Crawford Anderson. I'm a senior at Hoggett High School. I also work with the Lookup nonprofit. We are all aware of the pervasive issue that is screen time and phones today, especially in people of my age, I'm 17, and teenagers in general. The Surgeon General also acknowledged just a few weeks ago when he pointed out that screen time usage has the same effects as smoking 15 cigarettes per day, which in turn affects academic performance and overall mental health and well-being.
Hi, I'm Atiq.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Atiq. I'm a freshman, and so to combat this, various measures like phone bans, magnetic locking pouches, and restrictive screen time apps have been deployed. And while they're well-intentioned, it is a big issue. These solutions struggle with scalability and sustainability due to their intrusive nature, which often clashes with the typical teenage behaviors and desires for autonomy. This is why we've seen such a high abandonment rate for these solutions.
So if we consider one of the solutions that's currently scaling across the nation right now, which is the blanket phone bans, on the surface, it's looking like a really simple fix, a really simple solution. But if we take a look at the historical context of this solution and look at the institutions in which it's been enforced, we can actually see that it's not that easy. And a lot of these institutions have tried this and failed. If we look at the largest school district in the United States, the New York City Department of Education, for example, we see that they initiated a phone ban in 2006, but it was lifted in 2015 after pushback regarding safety concerns and enforcement difficulties. Furthermore, the California Department of Education notes that teachers often turn into phone police, which distracts from their education roles and can put a strain on student-teacher relationships. And even beyond the US, research from various countries like Australia and Norway and Sweden who have been grappling with this phone ban issue for over a decade, they have shown inconclusive, weak, and often contradictory results in terms of a ban improving academic performance and mental well-being, and they're especially shown to have been ineffective in actually fostering long-term behavioral change. So our work with Lookup is to understand how we can use a positive reinforcement model with the help of the community to build inbuilt resistance to screen addiction and improve in-person connection. While, you know, our organization and stuff is not against bans at all, we obviously want the community to do what's best. We do believe that empowering the community with data is very important to make informed decisions. Our approach is to gather observational data on how students are interacting with their devices when they're in various social environments, such as the classroom setting. And our end goal is to then provide a system in which students
system in which students themselves are able to develop responsible interacting and paying attention in class.
There we go.
Is this better? Awesome. 68% of students use the app, and that was without even having an Android version, which is what we're working on right now. Additionally, we saw that students started using Lookup in other classrooms as well, showing that students actually wanted to use Lookup. Already backed by IRB research and a grant from UNCW, our project has provided valuable insights into students' phone usage patterns, supporting informed policymaking. We've also received approval from North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein and Representative David Rouser. This is in line with recent actions like those by New Jersey's Governor Phil Murphy, who signed legislation to study the impact of social media on adolescents. Even more so, policymakers recently introduced bipartisan legislation, the Focus on Learning Act, that calls on the U.S. Department of Education to conduct studies on the impact of cell phone use on students' academic and mental health. To have gotten to this point so far, we have a team of over a dozen high school Lookup leaders who have contributed to the initial pilot we tested and have helped us develop and refine the app thus far. We also have Dr. Ibihimi from UNCW's Computer Science Lab as an associate professor with a doctorate in computer science. Lookup proposes a research-backed strategy to complement existing digital management efforts in schools. By initiating a pilot with New Hanover County Schools, we aim to set a plan to mitigate digital distractions, but to also empower students to manage their digital engagement effectively. We look forward to the possibility of presenting our detailed plan, discussing how we can collaborate effectively. Therefore, we can make New Hanover County Schools the nation's first pilot of this community-powered solution. Thank you for considering this opportunity with Lookup. Samit, if you're still on, if you want to present anything else.
Our app design is very simple. I'm a teacher, I can
Do it.
It basically doesn't put too much on the teacher's plate. They basically activate a beacon in their classroom, which we provide to them, which send a notification to all of the students in the class to put their phones down. So in general, all of the application, all of the tools that have been designed in the past to look at the screen usage were designed for individuals. The one that we have is designed for groups. We want to encourage in-person interaction. So we want students to be with each other in the class, pay attention. So that is the whole goal of this application. And we got here early, one of the questions that you had from the previous group was about like the benefits of their work on workforce development. We are providing some rewards through our app for the students to experience different jobs and shadowing different STEM like careers and stuff for them to learn. And we already work with some companies, and they're willing to let us to use the employees as people who our students could shadow and learn about those different jobs. So this app could also be a tool for the community to help the students to learn about different careers as well. So, any questions?
Any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Bradford?
Just explain. How does it work?
Okay, so the app is powered by Bluetooth low energy technology that emits a signal to about 25 feet, so basically the size of a normal classroom, that'll send a notification like Dr. Ibihimi has requested that you put your phone down. And all the students with the app in the radius who have the app on background mode will receive that notification. They'll go to the app, there'll be a blue screen that appears that says you can lock your phone now. And once they start locking their phone, they'll start earning 1 point per minute that their phone is locked. And we already have, like Double Happiness has contributed $50 a month in gift cards that we can give out for points. So like 2,500 minutes would be a $5 gift card to Double Happiness. And we have a couple other businesses and, like you said, professionals who are donating some things and incentives for students.
If I could add in on that. Sorry, I was muted. I couldn't unmute myself somehow. I think both of us got blocked. But yeah. So the idea is to keep it super simple for teachers and have this running as a self-sufficient process in classrooms where they don't have to do anything. All they're doing is establishing that connection to their beacon, and students will themselves lock their phone and gain points independently. And we've seen this work really effectively so far with us gaining over 700,000 minutes of screen-free interaction in classroom. And on average, that was more than 50% of the classroom that was used. Students used the app, for more than 50% of the class, screen-free completely. So we've seen that it has really positive impacts already.
Yeah.
This app doesn't restrict students from using their phone. So we are not changing anything about phone usage on their students from a student's perspective. It is just having the app running on the background, giving them points if they don't use their phone. So it's like more for to encourage them to not use their phone.
Exactly, like using positive reinforcement rather than arbitrarily restricting them or taking away their phones. You're basically teaching them how to have their phones with them because they always will in their life, and being able to put it down.
And if I could add one thing, we don't collect or track any personal information. All we take is the name and your email so we can send you rewards. We're not tracking location. We're not taking any personal information, so it's very safe and very secure.
Ms. Mason?
Thank you. I am so excited about this. I got to hear about this a while ago and just hear all of the excitement that was coming just from the development of it. And I love that it is that positive reinforcement. We have a lot of punitive things that happen when we are on our phones and if we don't get off. But I like this, and looking at the website, seeing that there are, and hearing that there are community benefits, and not only that, but academic credits as well. Can you speak a little bit to that?
So, yes, there are the reward structure that we have is very complex. So we are going to have different tracks of rewards that students can pick from because no one reward works for everyone. So they can claim academic credit. So the teachers can say, okay, if the entire classroom or each individual not uses their phone for this number of minutes, they can get 1 extra point at the end of semester or whatever they want to set that point to. And then we also have like money stuff. They can get gift cards. They can participate in the workshop that UNCW has for free during the summer. They can also shadow a business. They can learn from an employee. So there are different types of rewards that we put in the system, and we are trying to put. It's not completely done, but that's the goal of the app, to have different types for the students to be able to pick from based on their needs and their interests.
And so currently what it looks like on the teachers and student side right now is that a teacher can put in 5 extra bonus points on the next quiz if you're off your phone for 10 class periods. And so we've seen that this has really motivated students. Like you said, 700,000 plus minutes, 68% adoption rate. Students want, well, extra credit, so they're willing to put their phone down and pay attention in class for it. So that's kind of how the system works right now. But as we expand, we're going to try different awards, like group awards. If 80% of the classroom puts on their phone for 5 class periods, then everyone gets an award. So just trying out different methods and seeing what's the most effective.
Another thing that we are trying to implement into the system is, I'm a game designer myself, and we want to use the different concept that social media and like game industry uses to keep the student, like keep the kids or people on their phone or on a game. We want to use the same concept to keep them away from their phones. Like, for instance, having a leaderboard, like this class didn't use their phone for the entire day. So they are going to be the top ranking one, they are going to get a strike, they are going to get extra points. So we are going to use those type of concepts to encourage the students to not use their phone as much as possible. So it's like a game for them, but a game that is healthier.
Walker?
So, yeah, I know this has obviously been piloted before, right, in some way. And I mean, I'm getting all kind of cool ideas. Like you could compete within your school, right, for which class does it the most. I mean, there's probably a lot of different ways you could do it to incentivize. I like the incentivizing idea because, I mean, I think if you're restrictive, and I know this from my own kids, a lot of kids want to rebel, but if you're making an incentive program, I think it brings out not only the competitiveness of all the students, but like, I don't know, you're getting rewards. I mean, I don't know how it's not, I feel like I'm everywhere in my mind right now because I'm thinking of all the possibilities you could do with this, and I'm kind of excited about it because like I think there are a lot of school districts that are puzzled over what to do with cell phones, but I know that parents are really nervous about that, especially, when they can't reach their student. So if we pilot something like this, would it be school-wide? Would it be one school, or would it be, do we know? I mean, have you thought about
What's
it?
the proposal?
So we don't have an
So what we want to do is we want to take a small steps as a research kind of component of that. We want to take a small steps. So what we would like to do is start with like 4 different high schools, because that is the majority of the students have cell phones. And then start with like 2 to 5 classrooms per high school and collect the data and see how it works with the students. And then based on the data we are collecting, we are going to make changes to the application we have. Maybe having a monetary incentive is not very good. We want them to learn about the job. We want to encourage the students to shadow business. So like looking at different reward system and how it works, how they collect the data, and all those type of things, through the data, we want to make changes and then expand it to more classrooms, more schools in general, and then see how it works. So it's like going to be based on data, so it's data driven, and but we want to start with 4 different high schools and then a couple of classrooms per high school, if that makes sense.
Yep. You said earlier you were a nonprofit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have 2 parts, one for Dr. Barnes. So there is no cost to the school district to do this?
No, 0.
Okay. And Dr. Barnes, how would this fit in with our current policy regarding personal electronic devices? Do we know?
The policy leaves it up to the principal, so it would, if administration of the school allow it, then it would fit.
And go ahead.
What would we have to do to say yes?
Well, I think what the next step would be is for me to go, we have a principal meeting in a couple of weeks, and talk with the principals about it, gain a couple of principals who are interested in piloting it. I'd recommend, maybe a couple of our larger high schools, a couple of our non-traditionals, and then we can connect back together once I sort of do that work. I really would rather have people who are invested and interested promoting the fact that we want to do it, so I could do that through the principals.
That's perfect. We also have 3 letter of supports from 3 high schools, from their principals already. So, but if you have more, it's like great, because we can implement in more schools.
And you said it.
We also,
Mr. Wilson?
So many people want to talk at the same time. And you had said it's already been started in Hoggard in, how many classes did you say?
6 classrooms.
Six.
Are they still using it this year as well?
So I believe some of them are, as they have switched out students. We haven't been able to go and talk to those students. Usually when we present to a classroom, me or another lookup leader will go in, we have a presentation, we guide them on setting up the app. But that hasn't happened at a large scale this year, mostly because we're still waiting for some approvals and working on the Android version of the app. So some of those teachers are, but a lot of them, the students have transferred to other classes and might be using them in those classes, but not the scale they were at the end of last year.
Ms. Crable, did I hear you?
Yes, you did, thank you. Dr. Albrahimi, were we not looking for, or was the group not looking for an MOU with the school district to use any of your findings in a research project?
Oh, yeah, so we do have the IRB approval. We went through that process last year. We obtained that IRB approval. So, and then we submitted that MOU last summer, like this past summer. Haven't got any response back for that. So.
You submitted it to
And,
us?
We sent
Did you
it.
submit it to Dr. Green? I mean, I'm sorry, Dr. Murray?
Yes. Yep.
We never got it.
I just wanted to
We can
add to
resend
the
it.
fact-
No worries, like people have so many.
I'll get your
emails.
contact information and I'll contact you
Okay,
about that.
perfect, yeah, that would be fantastic.
Additionally, you had asked about, you had said you're getting the principals involved. We also have over 120 teachers across the middle schools, the high schools, and even UNCW and Cape Fear Community College, who said that they would want to use lookup in their schools, in their classrooms. So we also have a lot of teacher interest as well.
And we did present at a principal meeting about last year. Now, we can do it again to make it more formal now with your guys' support, but we did already introduce this concept to them, and like Dr. Ibrahimi said, we have 3 to 4 letters of consent already written with the letterhead and the signed signature of principals from, I believe, Hoggard, Hanover, and Laney and Isaac Bear.
I think so, but we can update them because they were from last year, so if you can have the new one, that would be even better.
So, okay, so if everything worked out, we did a pilot, what would be the timeline for it? Would it be like for a semester? And then if you did, could you come back to us with data?
Yes.
So to make it more, or spread it out more or whatever?
Yes, great question. So what we're doing is there are 2 master students who are taking this as their research projects, and they're doing 2 different type of analysis on the data. And we are going to run it for 1 semester, but we are going to look at the data every single month. So after the first month of deploying the app, we are going to have the data, analyze it, and come back here and report on our findings, basically. And then we are going to continue running the application on the schools because having the data is very beneficial because we can look at the trends of students using it and how they are using it over time. And we want to see if they're using it outside of a school too. So that is another very important aspect.
And that
for
might
us.
depend on the incentives that are given, right?
Mhm.
I mean, and what that looks like, and I guess that would be a principal's discussion or, because you mentioned double happiness, everybody loves double happiness. But how, I mean, would you go out there and find things to?
So that's part of the rewards that we're working on. The other part is teachers, as they sign up for the app, they sign up as a teacher, or parents can do this too. They can input their own rewards, or even a principal could implement their own reward for the school. But for example, like a teacher could implement a reward for 1,000 points, that would be 1,000 minutes, for a homework pass or an extra point on a test or a quiz, or really anything they want to do because they have control over that and they can input whatever reward they want.
To be clear, regarding the reward system, that is one of the research projects we are doing. We are testing different reward systems. So in different schools, we are going to have different ones and see which one is more effective. And one school is not going to get any rewards until the end of the first month. And then after that, they are not going to know there is any reward, basically. And then after the month is over, the experiment is over, we are going to say, okay, you collect this point, you can claim a reward. But they are not going to know they are going to get a reward. And one school is going to get reward the entire time. And then 2 other schools are going to switch back and forth every single week. And we want to look at the effect of each reward that we have on students using the application.
Parents could reward too.
Exactly, yeah. Parents can give up chore passes or, some pocket money in exchange for not using your phone at the dinner table for a couple weeks or a week. It's really up to the parent what they decide. And that's how it's cool. It's a very community-based, community-driven approach to rewarding this screen-free behavior.
Can I just give a compliment? I won't ask any more questions because, like I said, my mind went everywhere because I was like, there's so many different ways you could go with this, and it's a very cool concept. But I just want to note, these students come from our school district.
Yes.
I mean, we should be extremely proud.
And I think it is a great opportunity for our county to be the first in the country to implement something like this and show the result and saying this is started by students. So I think that's a huge, huge talking point. You should be very proud of your school system.
Do we need to do anything to indicate our support to move forward with Dr. Barnes to go with it?
Certainly not. I can get with the principals when we have our principal meeting a week from Thursday.
And then ultimately you bring us an MOU to implement, and then we just.
Well, I don't honestly know if it would need an MOU if it is no cost.
Does UNCW need one? Does UNCW, do you need an MOU?
No.
Okay.
No, I think my thing would be to track down the IRB for them.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you the IRB application.
I'll walk out with you when you guys
Perfect.
If there's no other questions, I have the beacons that we'll be using in classrooms if you want to take a look at them. If there's just little.
As a demonstration. And we purchased over 100 beacons for the school. So.
Mr. Wildebohr?
Yes, ma'am.
While we're passing out the beacons, I just wanted to give a shout out to Simon and Atif for their hard work and their perseverance. They have been diligently trying to get in front of our board for 6 months at least. And Simon is a freshman in college and Atif is a freshman in high school, right? And so they have worked really hard and have listened to our students talk about these kinds of things. So I'm really proud of them and proud of the work and just a big supporter of using our students, capabilities that we don't always know that are there until we let them shine. So thank you guys for hanging in there and coming and presenting to us.
Yes, we're very proud of y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And with the beacons, they all have an ID number, so we give one to each teacher, and then they just go and press the button on it. That's it.
I have one in my house.
Very good. Well, thank you guys very much. We obviously will be in contact very soon.
Right there, or?
All right. Carrying on. Is Walker leaving this stuff?
Walker.
Ms. Walker? All right, our next item of business, we're going to jump back to our closed session. So I will, and again, just making sure everybody knows, closed session will be in the back room here instead of that room there. I would entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 318.11 for the following purpose: to prevent disclosure of information privileged or confidential pursuant to General Statute 115C 402 and not considered public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statute; to prevent disclosure of student records rendered confidential under FERPA; to consult with the attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the board; and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual employed or considered for employment with the school system, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, grievance by or against any individual employee. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify, any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Carry 6-0. We are in closed session.
bump this to next week?
Okay, we are back in open session. Welcome back. We are going to amend our agenda. I think Ms. Mason's going to do that, so Ms. Mason.
What's happening?
Take your agenda, you just told me what you're doing.
I would like to make a motion to push the employee listening tour, the budget update, the board norms, and the task force committee update to next week's agenda.
The regular meeting. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, first and second, any discussion?
I'd actually prefer to keep the listening part today, if that's at all humanly possible, but
We need a two-thirds? Is this a supermajority?
It is a supermajority, yeah. So, 2/3, Ms. Crable on?
That
No.
would adjust our time on meeting too
what was
for
the
next
three?
week.
We've got time to burn on that Tuesday.
Okay. It was the employee listening tour, the budget update, the board norms, and the task force committee update.
I didn't add it up, but it looks like about an hour.
Roughly 45,
30, 45.
60, yeah, roughly a little over an hour.
We'll go from 2 hours and 40 minutes, probably 3 hours and 50.
So it would be right on the cusp.
right on 4 hours.
Well, is there any of those we want to say, because we do have an hour right now, I
I
think.
would like to, I'm ready to hear the listening tour. I'd like to do it, if y'all would agree.
That'll give us, if we do the school safety, that should not take the whole 20 minutes. That's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then the resolution should be 5 minutes. We could probably do it in an hour.
I think the concern would be how much discussion occurs, and I don't want to cut off the discussion on that. I don't,
Okay, well, it does take a supermajority. We have a motion and a second at this point.
Ms. Mason, I didn't hear what you just said. I missed what you said.
there's discussion that they wanted to, that we could add have the employee listening tour and the budget update in there.
Not the budget update.
Not the budget update, well, the budget, okay. Just the listening tour?
The budget update and the board norms, I'm sorry, the budget update and the listening tour sort of are linked together.
Right,
Oh,
that's
okay.
why I was thinking, yeah.
We could do,
And my concern would be that if there's more discussion, we might have to cut it off, and I don't want to cut off that discussion.
Well,
Also, if I might,
Go
sorry,
ahead, please.
we are missing 2 of our board members, so it would be great if they could hear that information as well in person, or if they're available.
okay. We have motion seconds. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor of moving the listening tour, the budget update, the board norms, and the task force update to next Tuesday, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'll say aye.
Okay.
Is that a, yeah, yes?
Ms. McManus, you going yea or nay? Yay, okay.
I'm nay, I'll say it.
Okay, all right. We'll do that, so then we'll carry on with school safety. I'd like to start that conversation. We have 20 minutes allotted for that. I don't know if it's going to take 20 minutes, but I do think it is very important that we, as a board, make a statement that we support our principals and their very difficult job to keep our schools very safe, and they have our support at 99.9%. So I would like to say that on the front end. Other discussion and other topics. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to echo that. We want our principals to know that we as a board, we have their back. We support their discipline decisions, making our schools safe.
Absolutely. Others? Mr. McManus?
Thank you. Well, I think we need to work on our discipline. Now, that means the support of our staff. Let me just say, it does mean the support of our staff, including administrators. And I really worry about what I hear. I worry more about what we've seen. And we can, the one thing that all of us as human beings do is we make great excuses for things that we're in charge of when they go awry. So my understanding is Dr. Barnes is meeting with the principals anyhow, and I think that we've had discussion that he has before about discipline and the support. Some of the recent things that have gone on, it's a lot of discussion. I think that what we do affects the inviting environment of schools. We've just got to make sure that everyone understands that discipline must be a priority. That doesn't mean we're going after and we're hiding in the bushes. We just have to have a safe environment. All of these collectively relate to discipline. And I believe with all my heart and soul and administrative experience, if you don't have solid discipline, then your academics suffer. Your teachers suffer. And so the environment is the key. And students need to know, as much as we love them, that there are expectations that are not, that they must live up to. And there's certain things that aren't acceptable, and they will be disciplined. And I just don't think that that perception is here right now, like it needs to be. Now, I'll be gone in a month and a half. All three of us will. Well, 2 months, but counting the weekends. So, but someone's got to say it. I don't mind saying it. And I genuinely think that the majority of teachers would agree. We must have discipline. Now, you can overreact, you can underreact, but we've got to have it. And there's always an excuse for the really, really bad stuff. There is no excuse. If we want to recapture our schools, particularly those who have major discipline problems, we have got to have higher expectations.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Walker.
So I think we carry on with the work that we are trying to do with the safety committee. I think we are making moves. We are listening. We ask questions, how we ask questions on the survey. I think have a listening tour where we're asking right questions. Discipline, to me, is not always about punishment. Discipline is about how we teach our kids to stay on a good path, and if they're messing up, we correct it. It doesn't. When you hear the word discipline, that's what people think. We think it's about punishment. It's not always about that. I know with my own children, I worked really hard. I was not punitive, but I was like, you got a choice. You either behave or this is what happened. You go in the corner. It's teaching kids how to regulate and their emotions. And like I said, we had a pandemic. I think we all had some issues. They came out in different ways. But there are things that we definitely have to work on, and I don't disagree with Mr. McManus. We've got to, from what we're hearing from our staff, obviously there are things we got to really work on. So I just think we should just keep carrying on with what we are, talk about it, and figure out what the plan is, and I guess prepare our principals, support them, and our teachers. I know we've witnessed some things. I know Mr. McManus has witnessed some things, and it's. The teachers just need to be heard and I would just say protected. So we do that by supporting them from this level on a policy. You guys do it for supporting them, face to face all the time and listening. So we got to keep working at it because it is a concern, I think.
Thank you. Any others? Yes, sir. You may.
I'd like to emphasize again, the principals, we support the work that you're doing. I think for all of us, we know that your goal is to make a safe educational environment. And I'll tell you from this seat that I will support that as well, that it's a critical component of the job that we do. But in no way am I trying to say that we know better than what you know in your schools, because you are the experts in that situation and we trust your judgment. And if you need us, we're just a phone call away.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we are unified in that area. Very good. The only other thing that we have on the revised schedules, I'm throwing these things at you, sorry. Thank you.
I had one job.
I had one job, but don't. Hold on to that.
Town hall and
Oh, yeah, the resolution, I'm sorry, we have two things. Town hall. So we had I think, very successful town hall where we brought our staff in. We were able to hear from them. We were able to use a lot of the information that they shared with us in moving forward. And I would like to replicate in a lot of ways that town hall on the 15th of October when we invite in parents, especially parents, and community members, having the same 3 basic topics. 2 rounds as we did before with the other town hall. One being what we just talked about, which is discipline. Discipline. We've heard a presentation about cell phones today, so I mean, this will be an opportunity to hear about cell phones and their thoughts on cell phones. I think the presentation we had today was very, very interesting, and using a positive spin to cell phones. Second one is school climate as a whole. Moving on to improve that. We want an inviting comment. Oh my goodness, thank you. Yes, I will. Yes, no, you're right. We have 3 things, guys. We missed one. And then the third, we would like to hear from parents and from community members on hopes for a new permanent superintendent down the road. So having starting at 5 o'clock on the 15th to 7:15 as we did last time. We tweaked that a little bit where it's not 5 to 7, 5 to 6 being round 1, and 6:15 to 7:15 being round 2. And we want to hear from parents. We want to hear from community members. So
4 topics?
I'm sorry, 3 topics?
Yeah. How do we get to school, where does school climate and the superintendent, is that all in one?
No. Discipline and cell phones is 1.
Oh, that's one, okay.
Improving school climate is 2, and hopes for the new superintendent. And we're going to do as we did last time, where the board members will rotate around. So I'm sure our our media will be reaching out and getting things together on that. We did skip over, so I'm 0 for 2 today. We didn't strike out yet. We did not go ahead and approve the personnel report. Kind of important.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the personnel report.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes, I'm going to say, we'll say with 5-0. Thank you for keeping me straight. It is a hard job. And the last bit of business we have before we move to adjourn is our September 16th absence resolution. Dr. Barnes.
Before you in Assembly, there is a proposition, a resolution I drafted for you folks to approve that September 16th be considered a excused absence for students who were not able to make it to school due to the weather. And that, with your approval, we'll go through and I'll be able to switch anybody who was absent that day to an excused absence rather than unexcused. Thank you.
I make such a motion.
I second it.
Is there any discusussion?
No, happy to do it.
Happy to do
It's
it.
a tough day, and I don't think we were all surprised. So I think this is the right thing to do.
Good. All in favor of approving the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It carries 5-0. Our last bit of motion on, or business on, is a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
First and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.